A 12-year-old foster child, named Marcus, was brutally murdered in a quiet Texas town after a devastating false accusation tore his new family apart, leaving his foster parents shattered and a community divided. But 18 months later, a maintenance worker discovers a hidden journal in the family home's attic, and what he reads inside exposes a web of lies, so twisted that it would shock investigators and reveal the horrifying truth about who really orchestrated this innocent child's death. The sun rose over Willowbrook, Texas, casting golden light across the modest neighborhoods where families began their daily routines. Among these homes stood a pale blue house on Cedar Lane, where Rebecca and Thomas Crawford had spent the last 3 years opening their hearts to children who needed love most desperately. Rebecca Crawford worked as a kindergarten teacher at the local elementary school, her gentle nature and infinite patience making her beloved by students and parents alike. Thomas worked at the county courthouse as a clerk, his steady income and reliable character providing the stability their household needed. Together, they had created a sanctuary for children who had experienced trauma, neglect, and abandonment. Their biological daughter, Cassandra, had just turned 16 and attended Willowbrook High School. She was popular among her peers, involved in the drama club, and maintained excellent grades. To outsiders, Cassandra appeared to be the perfect teenager, polite, articulate, and seemingly supportive of her parents' foster care mission. The Crawford family had fostered 8 children over the years, with most finding permanent homes or reuniting with biological relatives. Rebecca and Thomas took pride in their role as temporary guardians, knowing they provided crucial stability during the most vulnerable periods of these children's lives. Marcus Williams arrived at the Crawford home on a humid Tuesday morning in late August. At 12 years old, he carried a small duffel bag containing everything he owned: 3 sets of clothes, a worn teddy bear, and a notebook where he wrote down his thoughts. His previous placement had failed when his foster father lost his job and could no longer provide adequate care. Social worker Linda Martinez introduced Marcus to the Crawford family with gentle words of encouragement. She explained that Marcus had been in the system for 2 years after his mother died from complications related to addiction. His father remained unknown, leaving Marcus completely alone in the world, except for the temporary families who opened their doors to him. Rebecca knelt down to Marcus's eye level, her warm smile immediately putting him at ease. "Welcome to our home, Marcus. We are so happy you are here." Thomas shook the boy's small hand with genuine warmth. "We have set up a room just for you, and Rebecca has been cooking your favorite meal all morning." Cassandra stood slightly behind her parents, offering a polite smile and a quiet hello to the new arrival. She helped carry Marcus's belongings to his room, pointing out where he could find towels, explaining the household rules, and showing him the backyard where he could play. The first few weeks seemed to progress smoothly. Marcus slowly began to open up, sharing stories about his interests in drawing and his love for science documentaries. Rebecca helped him with his homework each evening, while Thomas taught him basic carpentry skills in the garage workshop. The boy's appetite returned, and his pale complexion began to show healthy color. Neighbors noticed the positive changes in Marcus during his walks around the neighborhood with the Crawford family. Mrs. Henderson, who lived next door, often commented on how polite and well-mannered the boy had become under Rebecca and Thomas's care. Marcus enrolled at Willowbrook Middle School, where his teachers noted his eagerness to learn despite significant gaps in his education. His art teacher, Miss Rodriguez, was particularly impressed by his detailed sketches and encouraged him to enter a county-wide art competition. At home, Marcus began to flourish in ways that surprised everyone. He helped Rebecca prepare dinner, learning to cook simple meals. He assisted Thomas with yard work, taking pride in maintaining the flower beds. Most importantly, he started to laugh and smile regularly, behaviors that had been absent when he first arrived. Cassandra appeared to accept Marcus's presence in the household, though she maintained a certain distance. She would include him in family movie nights, help him with difficult homework assignments, and occasionally defend him when neighborhood children made cruel comments about his foster status. However, beneath the surface harmony, subtle tensions began to emerge. Cassandra had grown accustomed to being the sole focus of her parents' attention and resources. The presence of foster children had always been temporary, but Marcus seemed to be settling in for a longer stay. Rebecca and Thomas began discussing the possibility of adopting Marcus permanently. They had grown deeply attached to the boy and could see how much he needed the stability of a forever family. These conversations happened in whispered tones after Marcus had gone to bed, but Cassandra overheard enough to understand the direction her parents' thoughts were taking. The family dynamics shifted as Marcus became more comfortable, expressing his needs and desires. He asked for help with school projects, requested special meals for his birthday, and began referring to Rebecca and Thomas as Mum and Dad during casual conversations. Local child welfare supervisor, Patricia Johnson, conducted monthly visits to assess Marcus's progress and the family's adjustment. Her reports consistently praised the Crawford family's commitment and noted Marcus's remarkable improvement in academic performance, social skills, and emotional stability. Marcus's caseworker, Linda Martinez, scheduled a comprehensive review meeting for late November to discuss permanent placement options. She had observed the strong bond developing between Marcus and his foster parents and planned to recommend proceeding with adoption paperwork. The community of Willowbrook had embraced Marcus as well. He joined the middle school's art club, participated in a youth volunteer program at the local animal shelter, and developed friendships with several classmates. His integration into the social fabric of the town seemed complete and natural. Rebecca and Thomas felt a deep sense of fulfillment, watching Marcus transform from a withdrawn, traumatized child into a confident, happy boy. They had provided him with the foundation he needed to build a successful future, and they looked forward to making their family bond permanent through adoption. As autumn progressed into winter, the Crawford household settled into comfortable routines. Marcus had his own chores, participated in family decisions, and contributed to the household in meaningful ways. His presence had enriched their lives in unexpected ways, bringing joy and purpose to their daily activities. The stage was set for what should have been a happy ending: a traumatized child finding his forever family, caring parents gaining a beloved son, and a community witnessing the power of love and dedication to healing broken young lives. On a cold December morning, just 3 days before Marcus's 13th birthday, Cassandra Crawford approached her parents with tears streaming down her face and trembling hands. She had waited until Marcus left for school, ensuring they would have complete privacy for the conversation that would destroy everything. "Mum, Dad, I need to tell you something terrible," Cassandra whispered, her voice shaking with apparent fear and distress. "I did not want to say anything because I was scared, but I cannot keep this secret anymore." Rebecca immediately wrapped her arms around her daughter, sensing the gravity of the moment. Thomas set down his coffee cup and gave Cassandra his full attention, his expression growing serious as he recognized the signs of genuine distress. "Marcus has been touching me inappropriately," Cassandra revealed, her words delivered with convincing sobs and detailed descriptions that would later prove to be entirely fabricated. "It started about 2 months ago, when you were both at work. He said he would hurt me if I told anyone, and he threatened to run away and blame me if I got him in trouble." The accusation hit Rebecca and Thomas like a devastating blow. Their daughter provided specific dates, times, and locations where these alleged incidents occurred. She described Marcus's supposed threats in chilling detail, explaining how he allegedly used his status as a foster child to manipulate the situation. Rebecca's maternal instincts immediately shifted into protective mode. The thought of her daughter being victimized in their own home, under their care, filled her with rage and guilt. Thomas felt sick to his stomach, wondering how he had failed to notice signs of such serious problems. Cassandra continued her fabricated account with remarkable detail and emotional authenticity. She claimed Marcus had been stealing small amounts of money from her room, using the theft as additional leverage to ensure her silence. She described how he allegedly watched her through her bedroom window from the backyard, making her feel unsafe in her own home. The parents' initial shock quickly transformed into decisive action. Rebecca called the school to report that Cassandra would be absent due to illness, while Thomas contacted his supervisor to request emergency leave. They spent the morning consulting with crisis counselors, gathering information about how to handle such serious allegations properly. The Child Protective Services received the report that afternoon. Social worker Linda Martinez, who had been so optimistic about Marcus's placement, found herself conducting an emergency investigation that would determine the boy's immediate future. The protocols were clear. Marcus would need to be removed from the home immediately, pending a full investigation. When Marcus returned from school that afternoon, excited to show Rebecca a perfect score on his science test, he found police officers and social workers waiting in the living room. The confusion on his face was heartbreaking, as Linda Martinez explained that he would need to come with her immediately. "Did I do something wrong?" Marcus asked, his voice small and frightened. "I promise I have been good. I did all my homework, and I helped Mr. Crawford with the garage yesterday." Rebecca stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face as she watched the child she had grown to love being taken away. Thomas struggled to maintain his composure, his anger toward Marcus warring with his affection for the boy they had planned to adopt. Marcus packed his few belongings once again, the familiar routine of leaving a home bringing back all the trauma and abandonment issues he had worked so hard to overcome. He asked repeatedly what he had done wrong, but the adults could not provide answers that would make sense to a 13-year-old mind. The emergency placement landed Marcus in a group home across town, a facility that housed 12 children ranging in age from 8 to 17. The environment was institutional and impersonal, a stark contrast to the warm family atmosphere he had experienced with the Crawfords. News of the allegations spread quickly through Willowbrook's tight-knit community. Parents who had welcomed Marcus into their homes for playdates and birthday parties suddenly viewed him with suspicion and fear. His teachers at school received notifications about the ongoing investigation, affecting their interactions with him during his final days in their classrooms. The investigation proceeded with thorough interviews and psychological evaluations. Detectives questioned Marcus repeatedly about his relationship with Cassandra, his understanding of appropriate behavior, and his activities during the time periods when the alleged incidents occurred. Marcus consistently denied the accusations, his confusion and hurt evident to everyone involved in the process. He could not understand why Cassandra would make such claims, repeating over and over that he had never done anything to hurt her or make her uncomfortable. Medical examinations and forensic interviews followed standard protocols, but physical evidence was limited. The case would ultimately depend on credibility assessments and testimony from the individuals involved. Cassandra's performance during her interviews was compelling and consistent. She provided additional details when prompted, displayed appropriate emotional responses, and answered questions in ways that supported her initial claims. Her parents' visible distress and protective anger added credibility to her account. The community rallied around the Crawford family, offering support and expressing outrage that such a thing could happen to such good people. Church members, neighbors, and colleagues provided meals, childcare, and emotional support during this traumatic period. Local media outlets picked up the story, reporting on the allegations against the foster child and the impact on the family who had tried to help him. The coverage painted Marcus as a dangerous predator who had betrayed the trust of his caring foster family. Marcus's court-appointed attorney struggled to mount an effective defense. The boy's previous trauma and placement instability were used against him, suggesting that his behavioral problems had escalated to criminal activity. His youth and vulnerability became evidence of his capacity for manipulation and deception. The legal proceedings moved forward with devastating efficiency. Prosecutors presented Cassandra's testimony as the centerpiece of their case, supported by expert witnesses who testified about the psychological impact of sexual abuse on teenage victims. On a grey February morning, 6 months after Marcus had first arrived at the Crawford home, with hope and excitement, the jury delivered their verdict. The 13-year-old boy was found guilty of sexual assault charges that would follow him for the rest of his life. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for the following month. Marcus would be transferred to a juvenile detention facility, where he would remain until his 18th birthday. His dreams of adoption, of belonging to a family, of building a normal life, were destroyed by accusations he could not understand or defend against. The night before his transfer to the detention facility, Marcus was found dead in his temporary placement bedroom. The official cause of death was ruled suicide, though the full circumstances remained unclear. A 13-year-old child, already abandoned by life and failed by the system meant to protect him, had lost his final battle against despair and hopelessness. The community mourned the tragic outcome while maintaining their support for the Crawford family. Many viewed Marcus's death as confirmation of his guilt, believing that shame and remorse had driven him to take his own life rather than face the consequences of his actions. Rebecca and Thomas Crawford were devastated by the news, their grief complicated by anger, confusion, and guilt. They had loved Marcus like their own son, and his death left them questioning everything they thought they knew about child welfare, about their own judgment, and about their daughter's traumatic experience. Cassandra appeared to be struggling with the outcome as well, requiring counseling to help her process the complex emotions surrounding Marcus's death. Her parents focused on helping her heal from her ordeal, never suspecting that their daughter held the key to a truth that would have saved an innocent child's life. 18 months after Marcus Williams's death, maintenance worker Carlos Mendez climbed into the attic of the Crawford family home to repair a persistent roof leak. The family had moved to a different state, unable to cope with the memories and community attention surrounding the tragedy. The house had been sold to new owners who were renovating the property. As Carlos maneuvered through the cramped attic space, his flashlight illuminated a small wooden box wedged behind an air conditioning duct. The box appeared to have been deliberately hidden, placed in a location where it would not be discovered during routine inspections or casual exploration. Curious about the contents, Carlos carefully extracted the box and opened it in the brighter light near the attic entrance. Inside, he found a leather-bound journal, several photographs, and a collection of small electronic devices that he recognized as digital recording equipment. The journal bore Cassandra Crawford's name written in elegant script across the cover. Carlos initially assumed it was a typical teenage diary left behind during the family's hasty departure. However, as he flipped through the pages, specific words and phrases caught his attention that made him realize this was something far more significant. Carlos contacted the new homeowners, who immediately called the police. Detective Raymond Foster arrived within the hour to examine the discovered items. What he found would ultimately rewrite the entire Marcus Williams case and expose one of the most calculated deceptions in the county's criminal history. Cassandra's journal contained detailed entries spanning nearly 2 years, beginning several months before Marcus's arrival at the Crawford home. The entries revealed a disturbing pattern of resentment, jealousy, and methodical planning that had culminated in the false accusations against the innocent foster child. The earliest entries expressed Cassandra's growing frustration with her parents' dedication to foster care. She wrote extensively about feeling neglected and overlooked, describing how the constant presence of foster children had diminished her status as the center of her parents' attention. "Another kid is coming next month," one entry read. "Mom and Dad are so excited, but they barely notice me anymore. I am tired of sharing my family with strangers who do not even appreciate what they have been given." As Marcus's placement became more permanent, Cassandra's journal entries grew increasingly hostile and calculating. She documented her observations of Marcus's daily routines, his interactions with her parents, and his emotional vulnerabilities that she could potentially exploit. "Marcus is getting too comfortable here," she wrote 3 months after his arrival. "Mom and Dad are talking about adoption again. I heard them whispering about making him a permanent part of our family. That cannot happen. This is my family, and I will not let some random foster kid steal my parents away from me." The journal revealed the moment when Cassandra decided to take action. Her entries described researching false accusation tactics online, studying criminal cases, and developing a detailed plan to remove Marcus from her home permanently. "I know exactly what to say and how to say it," one chilling entry explained. "Adults always believe teenage girls when they claim abuse. I have been practicing my story, making sure every detail is perfect. Marcus will be gone within a week of my revelation, and Mom and Dad will focus on me again." The most disturbing entries detailed Cassandra's preparation for the false accusations. She had documented Marcus's schedule, identified times when she would be alone with him, and created a fictional timeline of abuse that would be difficult to disprove. She had also researched the psychological impact of sexual abuse allegations, ensuring that her emotional responses and behavioral changes would appear authentic to investigators and counselors. Her performance had been entirely calculated and rehearsed. The photographs found in the box showed Cassandra practicing facial expressions and body language in her bedroom mirror. She had taken dozens of images, apparently refining her ability to convey fear, shame, and trauma convincingly. The recording devices revealed the most damning evidence of all: Cassandra had secretly recorded conversations with her parents, with social workers, and even with police investigators. The recordings captured her maintaining her fabricated story while privately celebrating her success. In one particularly disturbing recording made just days after Marcus's death, Cassandra could be heard talking to herself in her bedroom. "It worked perfectly," she said. "Marcus is gone forever, and everyone feels sorry for me. Mum and Dad are completely focused on helping me heal. I got exactly what I wanted." The journal entries following Marcus's death showed no remorse or guilt. Instead, Cassandra wrote about her satisfaction with the outcome and her plans to ensure no future foster children would threaten her position in the family. "I feel a little bad that Marcus died," one entry read, "but that was his choice, not mine. If he had just accepted being removed from our home, he would still be alive. I only did what I had to do to protect my family." Detective Foster immediately contacted the district attorney's office and the state child welfare department. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Marcus Williams had been the victim of a calculated character assassination that had cost him his life. The case was reopened, and Marcus's conviction was posthumously overturned. The state issued a formal apology to his memory and launched a comprehensive review of all cases involving similar allegations against foster children. Cassandra Crawford, now 18 years old and attending college in another state, was arrested on charges of perjury, filing false police reports, and criminally negligent homicide. The evidence against her was so compelling that she ultimately accepted a plea agreement rather than face trial. During her interrogation, Cassandra showed little emotion or remorse. She explained her actions as necessary to preserve her family relationships, and insisted that she had not intended for Marcus to die. Her primary concern appeared to be how the charges would affect her college enrollment and future career prospects. Rebecca and Thomas Crawford were devastated by the revelation. They had lost not only Marcus, whom they had genuinely loved, but also their daughter, whose capacity for deception and manipulation had destroyed 2 families and cost an innocent child his life. The couple divorced within 6 months of Cassandra's arrest, each unable to cope with the guilt and grief in the presence of the other. Rebecca entered intensive therapy and eventually became an advocate for foster children's rights. Thomas relocated to a different state and withdrew from social contact entirely. The community of Willowbrook struggled to reconcile their support for the Crawford family with the horrific truth about Cassandra's actions. Many residents expressed shame and regret for their quick judgment of Marcus and their failure to question the accusations more thoroughly. Linda Martinez, Marcus's former social worker, requested reassignment to a different department. She could not continue working in child placement after experiencing the devastating consequences of the system's failure to protect one of its most vulnerable children. The juvenile detention facility, where Marcus had been scheduled to serve his sentence, implemented new protocols for handling cases involving foster children. Staff members received additional training on recognizing false allegations and supporting young people who might be victims of manipulation. Marcus's case became a cautionary tale used in training programs for social workers, law enforcement officers, and child welfare professionals. His story highlighted the critical importance of thorough investigations and the dangerous consequences of assuming guilt based on accusations alone. The Marcus Williams case fundamentally changed how Texas handled allegations against foster children. New protocols required multiple independent investigations, mandatory psychological evaluations for all parties involved, and enhanced oversight of high-stakes placement decisions. Cassandra Crawford served 3 years in prison for her crimes, receiving a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation with the investigation and her agreement to participate in research studies about false accusations. Upon her release, she was required to register as an offender and complete extensive community service focused on educating others about the consequences of false reporting. The Crawford family home in Willowbrook was eventually demolished, as no subsequent owners could overcome the tragic history associated with the property. A small memorial garden was planted in its place, dedicated to Marcus Williams and other foster children who had lost their lives while in state care. Marcus's story inspired legislative changes across multiple states, including Marcus's law, which mandated enhanced protections for foster children facing serious allegations. The law required independent advocacy, specialized legal representation, and comprehensive support services for children in similar situations. Rebecca Crawford established the Marcus Williams Foundation, dedicated to supporting foster children and educating communities about the unique vulnerabilities faced by children in state care. The foundation provided funding for legal advocacy, therapeutic services, and educational programs designed to prevent future tragedies. The case also highlighted the importance of recognizing warning signs of manipulation and false accusations. Mental health professionals developed new assessment tools for identifying individuals capable of elaborate deception, particularly in cases involving family dynamics and resource competition. Years later, some of Marcus's former teachers and classmates shared memories of his kindness, creativity, and resilience. His art teacher, Miss Rodriguez, kept several of his drawings and eventually donated them to the foundation as reminders of the potential that was lost when he died. The investigation revealed that Marcus had been writing letters to his deceased mother, sharing his hopes for adoption and his gratitude for finally finding a family that loved him. These letters, found among his belongings, provided heartbreaking insight into the mind of a child who had done nothing wrong but paid the ultimate price for someone else's selfishness. The broader implications of Marcus's case extended beyond child welfare into discussions about the presumption of innocence, the power of false allegations, and the responsibility of communities to protect their most vulnerable members. Foster care agencies nationwide implemented new screening procedures for existing children in homes receiving new placements, recognizing that sibling rivalry and resource competition could create dangerous situations for incoming foster children. Legal professionals began advocating for enhanced representation for children facing serious allegations, arguing that the traditional public defender system was inadequate for cases involving complex family dynamics and institutional bias against foster children. The case became a powerful reminder that the most convincing accusations are not always the most truthful ones, and that the presumption of innocence must be protected even when the accused is young, vulnerable, and lacking in social support. Marcus Williams never had the opportunity to grow up, to pursue his artistic talents, to find his place in the world, or to experience the love and stability he had desperately sought throughout his short life. His death was not just a personal tragedy, but a systemic failure that demanded comprehensive reform and unwavering commitment to protecting innocent children. The lessons learned from Marcus's case continue to influence child welfare practices, legal procedures, and community responses to allegations involving vulnerable children. His legacy serves as a constant reminder that the truth must be pursued relentlessly, that the innocent must be protected vigilantly, and that the consequences of false accusations can be irreversible and devastating. If you found this account meaningful, please consider supporting organizations that advocate for foster children and work to prevent similar tragedies. Share this message with others who might benefit from understanding the critical importance of thorough investigation and fair treatment for all children in our care. Together we can honor Marcus's memory by ensuring that no other innocent child suffers the same fate due to deception, jealousy, or systemic failures in the institutions designed to protect them. Marcus Williams deserved better from the adults who were supposed to protect him, from the community that was supposed to support him, and from the system that was supposed to advocate for his best interests. While we cannot change his tragic outcome, we can commit to doing better for the countless other children who depend on our vigilance, compassion, and dedication to truth and justice.